It was supposed to be just another peaceful evening, a plain dinner at a humble restaurant, away from the gleaming spires and gold ceilings that normally enveloped him. Aaron Vale craved nothing but an instant of serenity. A plain steak, reminiscent of the times when his life rested on earth and not marble, nor on gold and not money. But as he sat by himself in the dark corner of that small-town diner, dressed in a plain jacket rather than a tailored suit, he had no way of knowing that this unremarkable night would alter his life forever, not due to the food, but due to a handwritten note slipped across his table unobtrusively by a quivering young waitress. Before we get started, if you think kindness, humility, and second chances are important, take a minute to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Real Kindness Stories, where real stories of the heart help us remember what humanity still means. Aaron Vale was not a man the world usually got to see smile. Once a poor and ambitious student from the tough side of Chicago, he had constructed an empire of high-end hotels that spanned continents. But behind his billions and that perfectly rehearsed smile was a loneliness that would not pass, the pain of losing his wife, Evelyn, to cancer 3 years earlier, and the crippling sense of guilt for not being there for her when she needed him most. Nothing since her death, not riches, not glory, not applause, could ever plug the empty space she created. So, every few months, Aaron vanished from the world he had constructed. No entourage, no luxury vehicle, no designer suit. Just him, his beat-up sedan, and the tenuous hope of relearning who he once was. Rain glazed the streets of a small town named Maplewood that evening. A neon sign of a small restaurant glowed amidst the mist. The iron skillet, the interior smelled of smoke, butter, and memories. Where laughter was never a chore, where everyone's name was on tip of everyone's tongue, and where steak seared on cast iron, not silver trays. Aaron grabbed a corner seat beside the steamed window. A young waitress made her way over. Her name tag said Mara. She had to be younger than 23, but her weary eyes had the burden of a woman twice that age. Her clean white blouse testified to struggle, but her shoes did not. Too many late nights and early mornings etched into thin, fragile leather. Yet, she smiled, though the smile was tentative, as if struggling through fatigue. "Can I get you something, sir?" she said quietly. "A ribeye." "Medium rare," he said. "And just water." She smiled graciously and scurried off. As she went, he saw a subtle limp in her walk, slight but insistent, a beat that didn't belong to someone so young. As Mara brought him his food, Aaron could not help but observe how frequently her eyes flickered fearfully toward the kitchen, as if she was worried someone was spying on her. She once pushed a stray piece of hair behind her ear and muttered something to herself as her face went pale upon reading a text message on her phone. Aaron didn't want to care. He'd spent so many years blocking out the noise of the world, the quiet pain of the other people around him. But something about the shudder in her hand when she poured him a glass of water, something about the pain she was doing so badly at keeping hidden, awakened an old hurt in him. He recalled Evelyn's eyes. The evening she informed him she'd discovered a lump in her chest. He had dismissed it, saying they'd get to it eventually. Eventually had arrived too late. That guilt had resided with him ever since, an at-large shadow that wouldn't dissipate. Halfway through his dinner, Mara came back with the bill. But instead of turning around and leaving, she paused. Her hand trembled as she pushed a folded slip of paper under the receipt. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice hardly stable. Then she turned and vanished into the back room. Aaron scowled as he gently opened the tiny bit of paper. The writing was sloppy, uneven, practically shaking, the type that was dictated by someone desperate and at his wit's end. It was a note that said, "If you're not the person I believe you to be, sorry, but please, if you can in any way assist, my little brother is in surgery tomorrow. They're going to have to postpone it because I can't cover the balance of the bill. I've tried everything. I'll lose him. Please excuse me for bothering. Mara." Aaron simply sat for a very long time. The words ran together on the page before him. It wasn't the request itself that shook him. He'd seen hundreds of the like before, on business letters, charity emails, and donation proposal. It was different here though, this from a person who had stared him in the eye, a person who attempted to smile with tears, a person who had no idea he could have purchased the hospital on a phone call. Aaron's chest constricted. He refolded the note gently, his heart racing in the quiet. Then, without speaking, he got up, paid his check, and walked out into the night air. Outside, rain ceased. Delicate mist clung below the streetlights, coating the peaceful town with silver. He remained there a while, looking through the restaurant window, observing Mara wiping down tables, still sporting that worn smile for another stranger. He could have sent someone else, an assistant, a lawyer, a donation, but today, something inside him spoke. No, this was something he needed to do personally. The following morning, Maplewood General Hospital was in an uproar. A black limousine had stopped at the entrance. A grey-coated man marched directly to the billing desk, deposited a folder, and spoke quietly. "Every item on Mara Lane's brother's account, past, present, and future, has been paid for in full. No one had time to inquire who he was when he was already gone. Later in the day, Mara burst through the hospital doors, her heart racing, still wearing her work uniform. She was afraid she was too late, but instead of ill-tiding, she saw her little brother laughing, color restored to his cheeks, the nurse smiling with him. The nurse handed Mara a tiny envelope. "Someone left this for you," she said. Inside was a single handwritten message on fine stationery. "Mara, you brought me back to what it feels like to really look at someone's hurt and not turn away. Thanks for your message. You reminded me who I am, a friend." That evening, standing in his penthouse far above the sparkling city lights, Aaron stood at the window looking out at the lights. For the first time in years, he felt something authentic, not remorse, not sorrow, but serenity. He remembered Evelyn, his deceased wife, and what she had quoted earlier: "Real wealth isn't what you build, it's who you lift." And then he realized. Several weeks later, the iron skillet was gifted an anonymous investment. Employees' salaries were doubled. The worn building got fixed. No one knew the doer. But now and then, when a man in a grey coat passed the window, Mara would smile, as if somehow she knew. If this story moved your heart, if you believe that even the smallest deed of kindness can ripple into something life-changing, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Real Kindness Stories, where hearts are healed through the power of compassion. Before you leave a comment below. Kindness never hides, because sometimes even a billionaire requires a waitress's note to recall what really matters.